So Portia continues, God defend me from these two. So she does not wish to marry either the Neapolitan prince or the county palatine. Next, Nerissa names the third suitor that Portia has. Nerissa asks Portia, how say you by the French lord, Monsieur le Bon? So she asks Portia what she thinks of the French lord whose name is Monsieur le Bon. Portia says God made him and therefore let him pass for a man. In truth, I know it is a sinner to be a mocker, but hey, why, he hath a horse better than the Neapolitans, a better bad habit of frowning than the Count Palatine. He is every man in no man, and if a throstle sing, he straightway falls a capering. So, Portia says of Monsieur de Bon, she says that because God made him, let him be called a man. She doesn't want to be a mocker. She doesn't want to make fun of anybody because to make fun of somebody is a sin. But hey, she says that the French lord, Monsieur de Bon, has a better horse than the Neapolitan and a better bad habit of frowning than the Count Palatine. So he is more devoted to his horse than the Neapolitan prince and is more irritable than the Count Palatine. He is every man in no man. So he has the qualities of each and every man, but he himself is a combination of many qualities. And it's hard to tell him what makes him an individual. If a throstle sing, he falls straight a capering. So even if a bird like a throstle sing, he'll start dancing. He will fence with his own shadow. He will fence. Fence means to use sword play. He'll fence with his own shadow. If I should marry him, I should marry 20 husbands. So, if Portia were to marry the French Lord Monsieur Le Bon, because he's not an individual, because he imitates each and every one he comes across, he should marry 20 husbands. If he would despise me, I would forgive him. Or if he love me to madness, I shall never requite him. So if the French lord were to hate Portia, Portia as a lady would forgive him. But if the French lord fell in love with her so that he almost reached the depth of madness, Portia would never satisfy him. So Nerissa says, what say you then to Falconbridge, the young Baron of England? So the next suitor is Lord Falconbridge, the young Baron of England. Portia says, you know I say nothing to him, for he understands not me, nor I him. So Portia says she doesn't understand what Falconbridge says. He had neither Latin, French, nor Italian. And you will come into the court and swear that I have a poor pennyworth in the English. So Falconbridge doesn't know either Latin, French, nor Italian, these three languages, and Portia herself doesn't know any English. She has a poor pennyworth. She has very poor English. He's a proper man's picture, but alas, who can converse with a dumb show? He is a picture of man, but Portia says, how can you lead a life, you know, silently? If she were to marry Falconbridge, she would have to be silent all the time because she cannot understand him and he cannot understand her. I think he bought his doublet in Italy, um, his round horse in France, his bonnet in Germany, and his behavior everywhere. How oddly is he suited? So, the clothes that Falconbridge wears, he bought his doublet. Doublet is a coat. He bought his coat in Italy, his round horse, probably the pants. He bought his trousers in France, and his bonnet. Bonnet is a hat. He bought his hat in Germany, and his behavior everywhere. So again, he is not an individual. Nerissa, what think you of the Scottish lord, his neighbour? So England and Scotland are neighbours. Falconbridge is from England. What So Nerissa asked Portia what she thinks of the Scottish lord, the young Baron of England, Falconbridge is his neighbour, Portia, that he hath a neighbourly charity in him, for he borrowed a box of the ear of the Englishman and swore he would pay him again when he was able. So the Englishman punished the Scotchman for something he did, and Scotchman said he'd pay him back when he was able to, when he would be able to. I think the Frenchman became a surety and set seal on the one another. So the Frenchman was witness to the promise that the Scotchman made to the English that he would give him a box on the ear. So Larissa continues, how like you, the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew? Saxony is like it's part of Germany. And how he asks Portia how she likes the Duke of Saxony's nephew. Portia says, very wildly in the morning when he's sober, and most wildly in the afternoon when he is drunk. So the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew, is an alcoholic. He's only sober. He only doesn't drink in the morning, but as soon as the afternoon comes, he starts to drink heavily, and therefore, when he's drunk, Portia despises him. She likes him most widely in the afternoon when he is drunk. When he is best, he is little worse than a man, and when he is worst, he is little better than a beast. So, at his best, he is little worse than a man, and when he's on his worst behavior, he is little better than a beast. Uh, I'm the worst fall that ever fell. I hope I shall make shift to go without him. So, if he were to marry the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew, she would, you know, forego the duties of marriage. Larissa, if he should offer to choose and choose the right candidate, you should refuse to perform your father's will if you should refuse to accept him. So, Larissa says, if the young German offers to choose the right casket and he chooses the right casket, then if because you don't want him, you would refuse to do your father's, you would refuse to satisfy your father's condition if you should refuse to accept him. Portia says, therefore, for fear of the worst, I pray thee set a deep glass of Rhenish wine on the contrary casket. For if the devil be within and that temptation without, I know he will choose it. So Portia says that in order to prevent the worst, in order to prevent the young German choosing the right casket, she asked Nerissa to place a glass of cheap wine, cheap Rhenish wine, on the wrong casket. Because if the young German were to feel like drinking something when he comes to choose from the among the caskets, if he comes to choose and he feels like drinking and he sees the glass of Rhenish wine, then he would choose that casket and therefore Portia will be saved. I'll do anything, Narissa says Portia, ere I be married to a sponge. So Portia says she'll do anything and everything before she marries a sponge. A sponge is someone who soaks up alcohol, right, or liquid. Narissa, you need not fear, lady, the having any of these lords. They have acquainted me with their determination, which is indeed to return to their home and to trouble you with no more suit, unless you may be won by some other sort than your father's imposition depending on the caskets. So Narissa says that Portia need not be afraid of having any of these lords for a husband, because the lords have told Narissa that they have decided to return to their home and to trouble Portia with no more wooing, unless Portia may be won by some other means than the condition laid down by the father, the condition of the caskets. Portia says, if I live to be as old as Sibylla and die as chaste as Diana, unless I be obtained by the manner of my father's will. So Portia says, if she lives to be old as Sibylla, Sibylla is an old woman in mythology who lived to be thousands of years old. She could not die. So if she lives to be as old as Sibylla, she says she'll die chaste as Diana. Diana is one of the Greek goddesses who is of chastity, right? So she'll be die as chaste as Diana unless she be obtained, unless she is married according to the condition laid down in her father's will. And she says, I'm glad this parcel of wooers are so reasonable, for there's not one among them but I dote on his very absence. And she says to Nerissa that she's glad that these young lords are so reasonable because there's not one among them except he wishes for his absence. And pray God give them a fair departure. So she says that God may grant them a fair departure.